and I hope that people from different campuses will volunteer to talk about what we take on this and very, very important what we are trying. Great examples and we support us to do a lot of work there.
So I'm sure everybody will agree that we have lots of nature all around us, especially in the college campus, and I think that the other campuses also are working hard at it. The different campus is probably the best, but we're very proud of our college campus. But and there are a lot of people I think interested in nature and different aspects of nature. And I think
Sushil is one of the foremost of them. Really glad that Sushil has started this initiative. Sushil himself has contributed a lot to maintaining the trees and other kind of foliage in the campus in the last couple of years. He's also been very actively involved in saving our snakes. So thank you, Sushil. He's a fantastic resource. He also knows a lot about nature and knows if any of you have any questions about what you're seeing outside, you can call Sushil. Again, a big thank you to Latif also. He's a great photographer and also, a storehouse of knowledge when it comes to different flora and fauna. And Winsley, I suppose you're part of the team. But Sushil, who's the rest of your team? Okay. Okay, so there's a team of Deepa Ramasamy, Harsh, Ravi Kishore, Sushil and Latif. But they'll be drawing in lots of other people to give these talks, and we hope you enjoy them and learn from them, and that we keep increasing the number of people who are interested in nature in our campus and help to restore whatever needs to be restored and preserve whatever we have. So thank you so much for being a part of this, and we look forward to a lot more from Sushil and his team. Thank you.
So without further ado, let me just say that I'd like to invite Dr. Eapen over to deliver his talk. Thank you for volunteering. He's told me about this many months back, and we were waiting for the kind of COVID pandemic restrictions to go. Then we finally said, let's just go ahead and start. Something interesting for people who like nature today, there was a Indian flap-shell turtle found in my backyard. We found this last year, we found 3 of them. So open your eyes and you'll see a lot of things. Over to Eapen. After Eapen's talk, we'll have a little time of discussion and interaction.
Thank you, Sushil. Thank you, Ansu. And thank you for who has joined. I understand people are joining in also on the Zoom. And I hope that this kickstarts a series of campus nature talks. So let me come to today's topic, is screening the hills around Vellore. Maybe if the lights on top can be put off. So some parts of Vellore are really, if captured at the right time, looks amazing. It almost looks like Switzerland, but this is Kandamangalam. And as we all know, the first line in the college song talks about the mountains, what I would say is probably the hills around Vellore. So it's captured everyone's imagination who has been here. We can spot these hills around from KPTR campus, around the hospital as well. Now, first question, where our campuses always green? So, all of us have heard of Dr. Ida Skada taking efforts to green this campus, and Dr. Frischi doing a lot of work to green the Karigiri campus. So I had requested Rina George for some pictures from the archives. And when you look at the ground level, apart from the hills, it looks quite barren. So I think that is the men's hostel coming up. So when it comes up, there are no trees, at least in the first picture. And second picture, the trees are starting to come up. So what I want to underline is these trees in our campus are not a given. They happened over time. It appears it was not there initially. I recollect as a medical student, Dr. Mary Jacob taking a class press, and the one line I remember in her message was "God paints in green." So evidently that impacted her to make that statement. So this greenery has come by active intervention, that it appears to be from the photographs that we have. So even in Karigiri, when you contrast the pictures, the ground has changed massively into a green surface. Of course, it's not the same patch of land, but it probably is true. Dr. P. Zachariah introduced me to the word cartman. I don't know how many of you know about it. Apparently, Dr. Ida Skada employed a person to come on a bullock cart with water every day. So mornings, his job was to water the tree saplings planted in this campus. So the medical students called him cartman. And his children were later on, I think, employees and principals office, etc. So they're all, the generations are still here. So there was a cartman. Second point. Now here I won't name the teacher. It's yet another teacher who asked me, who was describing to me how rainwater harvesting is done, could be done in Vellore. So he was explaining how is waterfall in Vellore like, the rainfall in Vellore. So the rainfall in Vellore is like a toilet flush. It happens 3 to 5 times a year. That's it. But when it happens, you have to catch the water. So it's a very striking point that is said about the rainwater. And some of us may recollect that 7 years ago, the rain was so heavy, and of course the drainage was not good enough, that a teenage girl got swept off in front of the hospital, and she died. The body was recovered after 3 days near the Pala River, about 3 kilometers away in a drainage. We read of similar things happening in Mumbai with floods. I know of a senior doctor who again was swept off in the heavy rains and died. Senior gastroenterologist, actually. But Mumbai is right near the sea. Vellore is far away and is known as a dry place. So it is true that this toilet flush like heavy rain, when it happens, it is a strong force of nature, and we have to capture it that way. The third point is that the hills around Vellore have some intriguing or funny names. For example, we have a hill called the Toad Hill. The Medical Students College magazine is the Toad magazine. There is a rock on top of the hill which looks like a frog or a toad. This is a picture. If you go down more, this Arni Road, we'll come across this, what looks very much like a turtle on top of a hill. Some people call it the Turtle Hill. And I read on a book about Karigiri that the name Karigiri suggests that it is an elephant-shaped rock next to the campus. So all these funny or intriguing names are the result of soil eroding out and thereby the rocks getting exposed. And then it looks like one particular shape and we call the name. So this is my attempt at taking a snap of the college hill. But as you can look at it, it's just a pile of rocks. So the soil gets eroded and what remains is the rocks. So next point I would like to talk about is the fires on the hills of Vellore. These are spectacular events which happen every year. I must thank Pratap Tarian for taking these snaps from his house when this happened last year. So these are again, very major forces of nature which happen annually. So this is College Hill, the day after one such fire, and you can see the devastation is like one war zone. So when this happens, you can see the tree saplings also get burned up. Some die, some shrivel, but still are alive. Now, why do we have these bonfires on these hills? I made an attempt to try to get the height of the grass shown, and I'm standing on the same ground level as the level where the grass stands up. So the grass is as tall as an adult. And the dry grass, we know, is called hay. So these hills are covered with this grass, which are as tall as an adult. And as soon as the weather becomes hot, it dries up. So it's hay now. So it's now waiting to catch fire. It's highly combustible. So here is one event where this year someone spotted a fire early and we could put it out in the College Hill. So Dr. Shyam was doing his cycle rounds and he spotted late afternoon a fire on College Hill. So he called in for help, and Mr. David Chandran, Mr. Latif and team from security all very ably put out the fire on the hill. And that's Dr. Shyam as well. But you can already see that part of that area had become burned up within. And you can see the fire there to the top left corner. And at the end of them putting out the fire, they could spot what they thought caused the fire. So there was possibly a plastic knife to cut a birthday cake. And there probably was some candles around which would have caused the fire to happen. There are also some strewn matches lying around on the hill. So what are the consequences of these annual bonfires on the hills? So one, the tree saplings get burnt and only the tough tree saplings survive. If they survive, they are stunted. Two, when there is a heavy spell of rain, the soil gets washed off and now the rocks gets exposed. This explains why Vellore is surrounded by rocky hills. So this is on College Hill. You can see the birth of a rock which is not yet named. You could probably call it a baby toad or something. So that is the phenomenon happening here when, along with the fire, and next when the rain comes, the vegetation is not there to support, to hold on to the soil on the ground. In fact, if there is a very heavy rain, it's possible that some of these rocks may start moving around. Just last week, we came across a scary video on the news about a big bridge in Himachal Pradesh getting broken by a rock falling on it. There are some rocks around Vellore called balancing rock on top of a hill. Apparently, in these few years, the rains are getting heavier and the summer is getting hotter. So if you have more rainwater coming in, if some of these rocks are unstable, it's possible that some of the rocks may start rolling down and could cause damage as well. Here's the question to think about. How many times in each year, do the hills catch fire? Now it's like saying, how many waves of coronavirus are there? We finished second wave, we are wondering will there be a third wave or not. So we can anticipate every year, April or May, there would be fires on the hills. Everything is bone dry and hay is waiting to catch fire. But on College Hill, I've spotted a fire once in December, month of December. So that is, there are different patches of grass. When it dries up, it can catch fire. So it happens many times each year. So there are some interventions possible. There are many benefits. One is it gives physical exercise. It fills your mind, brings you close to nature. This is something which I've been doing to College Hill. So one can attempt making some mini check dams. So when that rain comes 5 times a year, that time you have a little more impact when you do that. So we could put some pieces of rock, some brush, etc. And it works best in a gradient. So when the water comes, it is like a mini check dam, and then you can see the result happening in 2-3 years' time. These saplings now, there's a difference. So in fact, when the rain happens, I'm running up next day morning to see what's happening. And the picture on the left shows a bit of water caught on top of the hill, and the right shows the newly captured soil which had got washed on during the night's rain. One could also remove some grass for about 1 meter around each sapling, so that whenever the inevitable fire happens, hopefully the tree doesn't get burnt. Now, there's a bit of cheating. This is not the same sapling, but it's to make a point. The one on the left, I could hold it with my finger kept like this. It was very small in diameter. But in about 3 years' time, I'm not able to keep both my hands around this diameter. It's become quite big. So it works. Now, the one on the right, if it becomes big enough, then grass will not grow under it. There's no sunshine enough for grass to come. So it will start breaking the cycle of this next year's fire. That tree shouldn't get burnt. So this has been done in a more solid format, I think, by a senior government official of Vellore, where part of Toad Hill you can make out now has got trees coming up there. So one can expect that there will not be fires by this grass coming on there, catching fire, the current event. It may be a different story if the temperatures start going higher and higher, and then like in Canada this year, maybe the trees may catch fire. If it becomes even more hotter, that's different. But currently it is the hills catching fire. It also brings you close to God. One can hear God speak. And there are different words of the scripture which comes to mind when we spend time with nature. So just to summarize, I've just presented 2 insights which came to me only after many, many years in being in this campus. It never struck me that there were major forces of nature happening, which I was unaware of. First is, there are multiple waves of bonfires on the hills every year. And 2, the rains in Vellore are only 3, 5, or 7 days in a year, the good rains. So and we have to catch the water during that time. But both of which on the hills may contribute to soil erosion and partly explain why we put these funny names for the hills around, because the rocks getting exposed on the hills. Thank you.
Does anyone have any questions or comments? You start off here and then can you ask on the... I have a question. One of those first few pictures, was that big bungalow next to the hill? I mean, you can see a shot of a building and then you can see the hill.
I was thinking it's near the men's hostel side, and there is those buildings is what I thought, but I do not know.
Do you know what is the structure of that? We can't refer if it's a granite.
Actually, the archives picture said it was called SDA House. That's what the title was. Now, I do not know if SDA has changed over time. Yeah. Okay. But currently, SDA was on this campus, I think. But this, I somehow assumed it was on.
Okay, I'll check that. The other comment I had was that actually we do have big rocks fallings, in the town, old town area, on the hill, Sarbanamede, where there's a lot of Dobi population and Muslim population. They regularly have, during heavy rains, boulders that come down and damage houses and huts. Even just 3 days back, someone told me, one of our patients. So it is a problem there. Oh. Here, you occasionally see on that side of College Hill, I think, some stones rolling down near the Kamlakshapuram side.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So these fires, no? I thought a lot of them were man-made fires.
I also thought that.
Man-made or woman-made is possible.
No, sorry.
Was it done intentionally or was it done by chance? Okay, there are different theories around it. I do not know. But it is true, this is highly combustible area. Look at this. So in fact, when you think of it, even this campus should burn up because we have the similar vegetation. So one of the interventions we do is every year we cut the grass around it. That happens in CHTC, I saw the other day, where someone is actively cutting the grass. So that's one of the things which we do here. Similar things could be done on the hill. Now somebody has to get around doing these things. If you do that annually, for some time, 1 or 2 years, trees go big enough, then the grass will not grow so much. But whether it's truly intentionally done or not, it's possible. Maybe it happened casually as well without realizing it.
So when we were campus kids, when there used to be fires regularly, we were told that people use that grass for various reasons. Some use it for ripening fruits. Some of it is a type of lemongrass.
Yes.
And so if they don't cut it, the next year's crop doesn't grow well. I mean, if they don't burn it. So that's what I heard when I was a kid.
Yeah, I think, yeah.
Go ahead.
So, I'm not sure how true this is, but this is again comments from the locals whom I've interacted with about these fires. So some of them actually told me that they intentionally set fire to this grass because they graze their cattle on the hills. Particularly quite common on that hill, that's Toad Hill on the other side. The villages on the other side of Toad Hill. So they graze their cattle there, and once it becomes peak summer, the grass is all dry. So there's not enough food for their cattle. So they sort of light fire to it and burn it off. I mean, apparently what they believe is that ash forms a good manure. So when the rains come down next time, and like July, August, thereafter, there's again fresh grass for their cattle to feed on. That's one thing. Then also some local customs of the people around, particularly the villages that surround that area. Like Kartigai Deepam time, there's one particular member from the community. Some of the menfolk, the senior menfolk from a given community, they go and light a fire on top. And the people in the village of that same community sort of wait down, and when they see that fire there, they light the lamps in their houses. And apparently each hill has got different segments for different communities of that particular village. So that's another thing I've heard of. The other curious thing I had was when we had gone with Shyamji the other day, we were trying to plant some small saplings or tree, something over on the hill. It's sometimes not very easy to sort of dig over there. That's one thing. The other thing I was wondering, what kind of things do you actually plant when you go up? What are the seeds that you carry with you?
Okay. Yeah, that's a myth. Actually, I have not planted any tree. I only help the trees which are there to grow. So what happens is, it's like a natural selection. These are all drought resistant. They've been through so many fires, and there's hardly any water on the hill, and they're still growing. So if you now catch some water for them with this small check dam, they will grow nicely because they are really drought resistant. Really. So no, I have not planted any saplings there. They're all there only.
Actually, in 2006, we had a hill greening project with Mrs. Srinivasan from Exnora. We planted more than 300 neem trees at the foot of College Hill. So those are the foot of the hill, they're neem trees. And the other thing that he had suggested at that time was that we should collect a manure and put manure around the rocks and put shrubs there, the local shrubs. So if you have manure, then the shrubs will take. And then once they take, then they will last. So that was another reason why actually we started the waste management project. It was actually so that we could green the hills around, but finally it went another way.
Yeah, the foot of the hill now looks very, very impressive, very nice. That is that intervention that you did. Yeah. Yes, please.
Do you believe garbage burning could be a cause for these fires?
I didn't catch it. Sorry, do you believe?
Do you believe garbage burning could be a cause for these fires? Because some people burn garbage to get rid of it.
You believe that people burn garbage around their houses? So I don't know, could sparks lead to fires on the hill?
Can the fires itself? No, I'm not sure the answers, but I'm highly aware now that the hills are full of combustible matter, highly inflammable stuff. Okay, that is there every year in some times of the year. So I became aware of that. So if you knew about it in this campus, then we will take some action when you see it every day. So that's the realizations come onto me. So then we should try to think of mechanisms how it doesn't catch fire or avoid the damage of fire, probably.
Sir, there's one online question. Can planting saplings intentionally in hills help?
Not very clear.
Can planting saplings intentionally on hills help with greening?
Can help with greening, yeah.
Yeah. Can planting saplings intentionally on hills help?
Yeah. So I think that's what John Roshan said. He attempted that. However, what I saw was what is already there is very drought resistant. So it has sort of survived those times to come. Ansu has made an intervention of planting a large number on the foot of the hill where the soil is different, and that's made a big difference. On the hills, there's hardly any soil now, so it's a challenge now to get new stuff to come there. But what is already there, I assume it's drought resistant and it may grow. But I think we should try.
Again, as a young campus kid, I can remember going up and planting with my father. And those times there used to be much more goats grazing. So we had to plant something that goats would not eat. So we tried to plant custard apple, but very few took.
Okay.
Are there more questions?
There's just a statement from Dr. Subramani Kandasamy. If you build small check dams to save the trees, you may in fact get to see live streams running from the hills. So actually, last rains and all, we saw from Palamati side, some of the hills had streams. And so if we do have some check dams and some water left, we may see that in due course of time.
Yeah.
But I think the challenge is to actually identify good places and have lasting check dams. Because other people use College Hill, and often these check dams may not be there the next day. So there are bikes going all the way up, there are vehicles going. So in those areas, to facilitate that, I think over the last 20 years, we've seen a change in the entire, how College Hill looks. So that's also a challenge. Certain areas, we may do something with an intention, but next day we come and see it may not be there.
That is true. In fact, I didn't comment on that. You're right. There is a path now which allows a bike to go up the hill. So that means that area has been leveled off. Now when a rain comes, mud goes off. So like I was estimating around 3 or 4 truckloads of mud have come down now already. There's no grass to hold it. So what is now done is more mud is from the side cut and put there. So slowly the shape of the hill will change now because it's all actively getting eroded. So it's good to have some intervention, I think.
It was very nice, Dr. Eapen, sharing your ideas. And it's really wonderful. And I have personally seen some of the places where you have kept stones. The trees have really become large. It's really appreciable and it's a role model for all of us. And coming to what seeds we can place here, once a couple of years ago, there were plenty of neem seeds. Neem trees were giving plenty of, every year we do not see that kind of crop. During that year, we took neem seeds in sacks, and through wherever we saw some mud, we have thrown. And I cannot claim whether some of them have grown into trees, I'm not sure, but I definitely see more neem trees on the College Hill. And one major difference is we are in Eastern Ghats compared to Western Ghats, which has got a very thick soil, thick layer of soil. We are deficient in that. That is the main challenge. I read in a newspaper article, one way of supporting it is provide manure in the first 1 or 2 years. Then the tree will grow. to compensate for the lesser layer of soil. And I also believe some people have tried putting seeds with a helicopter in Vellore, especially along the Chankanatham hills. When we go just before Kannigapuram on the right side, on one side of the hill, we will see plenty of trees. One local person said it possibly because of the effect of seeding from helicopter. Thank you.
Thank you, Shyam. One comment about that is I've also noticed that in College Hill, it's mainly neem trees. And so the trees which Ansu was involved in planting, I see occasionally poorer people coming and cutting firewood and taking it. I think it's fine. It's a survival issue. But neem trees apparently are not so useful for fire. It doesn't burn so much. I heard people say that. So it doesn't get cut down that way. It's not firewood friendly. So that way it survives that part of it. That's one thought.
I have one question to Dr. Ansu. In the place where a lot of neem trees are there on the foothills on the other side of the College Hill, I also watched some water tanks. So in the beginning, were they given some water supply to these plants?
Actually, the same ladies who are doing the waste management project now were employed for the hill greening. So we had a supervisor and we had a project, we had a budget. So the problem with planting trees in these arid areas is you have to water it regularly, at least for 2 years, 1 or 2 years. So that first year it was watered regularly. After that, when the waste management project was started, we still had people from that project going to water the trees. And in fact, they had a small nursery also. And the manure from the waste management was also put there. So even now, I think we can take manure. I think now we're shredding leaves in the New Life Center. Maybe those shredded leaves, once it composts, we can say that we want to use it for the hill. But only thing is we have to employ somebody to water and also to put that guard around the young saplings so that goats and all don't come and eat.
Thank you very much, Eapen.
Thank you.
Big thanks to Dr. Eapen. How many years have you been doing this? No, I've seen you going up way before that. So he'll go up with a shoulder bag. You used to carry water also, no? No, to pour? No, okay. So anyway, yeah, so it's an interesting thing what you've been doing. When I told my dad, he was very excited. He said this is something that more of us need to do. It's a good role model. Yeah, so thank you very much for all of you to come and attend. And those who are watching on Zoom, thank you. Let's try and make this a monthly event. And I'd like people from the different campuses. If I visited Kagidapetrai 2 weeks back, and I was amazed at how they've changed that place compared to 3-4 years back. So I'm hoping that they'll give us a talk sometime. Thank you very much.